Many young people who are still single face constant pressure from their families to participate in blind dates. Even if they don't want to, they end up giving in due to the relentless pressure. The guy then attends the event, exchanges phone numbers, and starts texting to try to keep the conversation going. However, the responses are often delayed or never come, and the interactions become shallow, with no real emotion. He tries to insist for a few days, but with little experience, he ends up sending only cliché messages like good morning and good night. The conversations become forced, with no chemistry, until he gives up, feeling like there's no hope left. That's when the family pressure intensifies. You need to be more proactive. Call her, ask her out. This constant pressure only adds to his frustration, making him feel more and more demotivated and lost in his search for a relationship.
Only after seeing Su Yuan's absurd remarks did I understand how depressing the marriage market in China can be. From short warriors to bootlickers, from economic collapse to 30 million bachelors and now 100 million single women, capitalism has turned many Chinese men into individuals who cannot meet the expectations of modern Chinese women. At a matchmaking event in Jiangxi organized by Wang Po, your future wife stepped onto the stage and immediately laid out two very important conditions. Only handsome and rich men are worthy of her. As soon as she said that, there was an uproar among the audience, and even the experienced Wang Po was shocked. After a brief moment of thought, Wang Po tried to calm Su Yuan by saying,
有钱有什么用啊？对你不好，心在外，把钱拿回家，你天天吃山珍海味，你晚上啊守着那个空房，有什么意思呢？啊？
Wang Po tried to use questions about marriage to lower the girl's standards, but upon hearing that she could be rich and have a house to herself, Su Yuan became even more excited and began introducing herself.
24嘛，来自哪里呀？
江西上饶。
上饶本地的啊，24岁，个头嘛大概有1.68米左右哦，皮肤很白呀，长得很好看呐，可像那个阿玛尼呀，哎呀，长得老好看了啊，但是你这个性格很狂躁的啊。
Wang Po, in a joking tone, pointed out Su Yuan's personality problem, but she didn't care at all. After all, Su Yuan believes her youth, beauty, and stunning appearance already place her out of reach for most men. She declared. This extreme confidence even made Wang Po a little nervous. However, since the girl had such high standards, she continued probing into her expectations.
上什么班的？
做外贸的。
外贸的，做生意的，自己当老板的。
没有打工的。
打工的啊。
As an employee in a foreign trade company, Xu Yuan knew she had to marry a Prince Charming who was handsome, rich, and successful. Seeing this, Wang Po continued to inquire about Zhu Wan's preferences for a spouse.
本省的还是哪个地方都行，不限，全国各地哪里都行，对啊，全球上的人都行，
国外不行啊，
国外不行，反正一个目的，长得帅，得有钱。
This situation was so fascinating that it almost seemed worth going there to witness it in person. After learning that Xu Yuan wouldn't accept foreigners, Wang Po decided to take the safest approach and let the girl choose for herself.
谁有钱谁帅，来，哪个？你自己看啊。
Given the opportunity, Xu Yuan immediately pointed to a male guest she had been eyeing for some time, but to her surprise, he was married.
他有老婆了，有老婆就算了。
Seeing Zhu Wan's unique taste, Wang Po continued searching for another male guest for her. Soon, a refined-looking young man stepped forward, but upon hearing his age, Xu Yuan rejected him again.
你多大了，宝贝儿？
我23。
23，
不接受比我小的，不好意思。
Xu Yuan explained that she wanted an older partner to take care of her, so she wouldn't accept younger men. In fact, Zhu Wan's demands align with the views of many modern little goddesses. They believe that only men who can distinguish between lipstick shades are truly good. Of course, this is just part of the story. Gender equality and women's awakening are positive results of societal progress. So, everyone should recognize themselves and position themselves accurately. What are your thoughts on this?
Let me tell you something. When I was younger, I tried going to blind dates. I'm not exactly what people would call good-looking, but I thought I might meet someone nice. At first, I went in with some hope. You know? But I quickly realized those events were nothing but a humiliation for guys. Let me be straight. At these events, the women always seemed way more attractive than the men. And I figured out why pretty fast. The men who show up are usually financially stable. They have cars, houses, a decent income. But when it comes to looks and height, most of us don't stand a chance. It's like those are the only things that matter for us to even be considered. And you know that talk about looks don't matter? It's a lie they keep pushing, probably from the people running these events. It feels like they're trying to convince the women it's worth giving us a chance because, deep down, they know how unfair the competition really is. And the good-looking guys? They never show up to these things. If a guy's tall, handsome, and has money, he doesn't need to be at a blind date. He already has plenty of options out there, surrounded by people interested in him. Why would he waste his time at something like this? I started to realize that for guys like me, who don't fit the Prince Charming mold, these events are just a stage to get rejected. It feels like we're only there to fill up space. That's why I stopped going. I'd rather spend my time on other things than go through that again. Looking back, I've come to understand that the problem wasn't just me, but the whole way these things are set up. In the end, the only ones who win are the organizers and maybe the ones who already have all the advantages. Guys like me, we just leave feeling even worse.
What was supposed to be a romantic blind date event with thousands of participants turned out to be an event attended almost entirely by women. So, where are the millions of single men that society keeps talking about? According to reports, at the blind date event in Hangzhou, about 300 women showed up, all dressed up, full of hope and enthusiasm. Some had participated in similar events before, while others were attending for the first time, excited by the idea of a widely advertised event that would attract plenty of high-quality single men. Just the thought of it was thrilling, right? However, from the beginning to the end of the event, not a single man showed up. At this point, the female participants began to feel anxious, criticizing the organizers and complaining about the lack of planning and publicity. Now, this might seem odd, right? In situations like this, you'd expect there to be more men than women. So, where have all the single men gone? Are they no longer looking for wives? The truth is a bit different. According to information, the criteria for recruiting men and women for these events are entirely different. Let's look at the requirements for men. The registration fee ranges from 108 to 198 yuan. This amount covers venue costs, a host, event planning, and even tea. Additionally, men must be between 20 and 45 years old, own a house and a car, earn at least 300,000 yuan annually, or have over 200,000 yuan in savings. And as if that weren't enough, they must provide proof of income. Now, let me ask you, did the organizers really think this through when setting these criteria? Or have experienced male participants already realized these events aren't worth their time? Now let's look at the requirements for women. Registration is free, the age range is from 20 to 40, and the only criteria are to be gentle and virtuous. And that's it. So, what's the purpose of these blind date events? It feels more like a joke. In reality, this reflects a broader social trend. Many young people today are choosing to remain single. This explains the awkward scene we witnessed at the Hangzhou event, with many women searching for a partner while men didn't even bother to show up. Surprisingly, this isn't an isolated case. The same event, with similarly disastrous results, happened a year ago. It seems we're looking at a recurring pattern, where the absence of men and the frustration of women are becoming the norm. With this trend, it's hard not to think that blind date events are on the verge of extinction. To the organizers of these events, here's a sincere piece of advice. It's time to take this more seriously and create something that actually works. Perhaps drawing inspiration from shows like Fei Cheng Wu Rao could be a good idea, or at the very least, offering something more fair and realistic. Nowadays, many children born in the 90s, I think, personally, I believe, but I'm not saying it's true. I say they don't go to arranged dates, don't participate in social activities, and definitely don't get married or have children. It could be that they buy a cat, a dog, get Wi-Fi, play video games, and spend the whole day at home. This situation, many people around me are reacting this way. I thought they didn't go to arranged dates, didn't go out for fun, because they don't have friends. He told me, no, that's not it. He said, you don't realize that we don't want to go out. We don't want to go to arranged dates, or watch a movie, we prefer to be alone. Do you know why? He feels that his hormones are not normal. He feels that our generation has lost the urge to get involved in romantic relationships. So I, as someone from the 70s, find it hard to understand. I said to him, you, young person from the 90s, with such good health, don't have any interest in men, nor in women. He replied, it's not that I'm scared, it's not that I don't want to go out, it's that I don't have that impulse anymore, I don't have that impulse anymore. Why did Japan, our neighboring country, develop pornographic films? They also face this issue in a low-desire society, with a declining economy, uncertain income, and unstable job prospects. When prices fall in various areas, people tend to isolate themselves, and over time, their hormone levels decrease. With hormones falling, this leads to a lack of sexual desire, loss of interest in romantic relationships, further limiting the impulse and desire to socialize. Do you realize? In Japan, the neighbor is like that, it's true, right? In a low-desire society, the result is the decline of romantic relationships, less social activity between men and women. Don't you think Valentine's Day is getting, well, pretty boring? On Valentine's Day, February 14th, does anyone know what happened? The merchants made a big headline, saying that now boys don't court girls anymore. In Valentine's Day restaurants, there are no more couples making reservations. Isn't that right? I think that, on one hand, it's a low-desire society, and on the other hand, we're eating too much fast food, all these plastics in delivery, as I mentioned before, the issues with GMOs, pesticides, fertilizers, food problems, right? I don't know, what do you think? Don't you have that feeling? It seems that no one celebrates Valentine's Day anymore. In Valentine's Day restaurants, the tables for couples, the revolving restaurants, everything has turned into delivery places now, right? GMOs are part of this, and delivery is another. For example, I have a 20-year-old niece, she also doesn't go to arranged dates. She earns more than 10,000 per month and spends her time taking care of a cat. As an uncle, I also get worried, of course, about food safety and sleepless nights, the struggles of the lower class. But it's not just that. When I worked, I was full of energy. At night, after 8 p.m., I would go out to dance until 10 p.m. Back then, we went a lot to nightclubs, right? I'll be honest with you, I'll be honest. When we were over 20 years old, when WeChat appeared, we had people nearby and shake. Have you ever played with that? Back then, when we were traveling for work, we used WeChat to find people nearby, and we shook, and we could have a quick date. But now, young people from the 90s and 2000s, they don't care about that anymore. They are not interested. My 20-year-old niece, I'm worried because now at 20, they don't let her date. When she turns 25, 26, 30, no one will want her. I see this phenomenon quite often. Yesterday, a friend of mine who works in finance told me that she has a good income, a salary of 1 million per year. She earns 1 million per year, and she feels this way, thinking that normal people, like the workers, shouldn't be in a better situation. She said that many of her high-income friends are also facing this. I suggest, if your child doesn't go out for dates, doesn't socialize, right? Then, don't let them eat too much, don't eat fast food, prepare their food, take care of their life, and say, if you don't want to go out, don't worry, we won't pressure you, but you should walk, exercise, go for a run, do yoga, swim, and you'll see that after exercising, the hormone and dopamine levels will improve, and over time, their hormones will return to normal.
I recently went on a blind date, and to my surprise, I didn't see any men there. It was all women, and it made me think. Many guys say they don't want to get married, that the dating scene is dominated by women, and that men have simply given up on the idea of marriage. At first, I thought this was a problem, but now, after this experience, I see something positive in it. If men don't want to get married, why not take a step back and let women decide what they want for their lives? We no longer have to be at the mercy of societal expectations of marriage and children. If the men aren't interested, we shouldn't force it. I understand now that sometimes things aren't as rigid as they seem. I realize that if you don't want to get married, life can be simpler. You don't have to carry the traditional responsibilities, like taking care of the house, children, or the financial problems that often fall on women. You don't have to listen to complaints about what's done or not done in the kitchen. Plus, if you like to smoke or do something that's traditionally frowned upon at home, now you have the freedom to do it wherever you want without anyone complaining. I understand that everyone has their own choices, and maybe for many men, the decision not to marry is even a positive thing. Maybe I need to start looking at things differently, as something that really makes sense for what I want.
The gender ratio at the dating park has now reached 9-1. When I first saw this number, I was shocked. Is it 9 men competing for 1 woman? No, it's the complete opposite. This situation will completely overturn many people's understanding of reality. Last weekend, with nothing better to do, I took a walk through People's Park. That's when I saw a crowd gathered under a big tree, with dating profiles hanging everywhere. I observed for a while and noticed the gender ratio was about 1-9, men to women. How is that possible? After all, according to national averages, there are 17.5 million more men than women in the country. Logically, men should be having a harder time finding partners. In the beginning, when these dating markets in parks first became popular, there were indeed far more men than women. But now, looking closer, I see that the expectations for these dating events have completely shifted. For example, there was a woman, 35 years old, the same age as me. She has a master's degree from a naval university, earns 20,000 yuan a month, is 1.60 meters tall, and demands a partner with a degree from a top-tier university, 985, a salary equal to or higher than hers, a height of at least 1.80 meters, a house in the city with no loans or debts, and who is around 35 years old. You might think this woman has good qualifications, and it's fair for her to be selective. But honestly, I don't know how many men meet these criteria. What I do know is that men who meet these criteria wouldn't choose her. So, for some women, even if there are 17.5 million more men in the city, it makes no difference. To achieve anything, you need to have a realistic understanding of yourself. For the women at these dating events, there's only one kind of man who meets their criteria and is still willing to pursue them. Those who can't reach what they truly want. According to statistics, 80% of victims of emotional scams, known as pig slaughtering scams, are women, with an average loss of 280,000 yuan per person. There are nearly 100 million single women, and many are being deceived by promises from so-called millionaire men, leaving them anxious to the point of constantly checking their messages. But let's return to reality. In 2022, the national per capita disposable income in China was 36,900 yuan. For many people, even working their entire lives, it's hard to accumulate more than 1 million. Those who claim to have a fortune of 10 million in liquid cash are probably not telling the truth. If someone really had 10 million in cash, they could just invest it in a bank with an annual interest rate of 10%, earning 1 million annually without lifting a finger. And among all Chinese people, only 30,000 earn more than 400,000 yuan a year. Instead of falling for illusions, it's better to focus on realistic ways to improve your mindset and execution abilities. Everything in life should be done step by step: eating, walking, and even finding a partner.
At the singles event for 1,000 people in Hangzhou, which I've previously discussed in another video, the underlying logic was clear. No men participated. At the singles event in Hangzhou, a shocking scene unfolded. Not a single man showed up. This phenomenon highlights a reality in both Chinese and Western societies today, where no man wants to sacrifice himself for a woman who already has children, is over 30, or is divorced. These days, dating seems more like a competition of appearances rather than recognizing a person's inner qualities. People no longer consider values, only physical appearance. The so-called ideal appearance includes having a car, a house, money, a higher education, and a perfect body. However, if we reverse these criteria, we'd realize that people who meet all these requirements are rare. Especially for younger men, these conditions only begin to appear around the age of 40. And if the requirement includes a perfect body, the chances drop even more. For ordinary people from rural areas, buying a house and car in the city, earning a good income even after 20 years of work is a difficult task, let alone for those who meet these appearance and body standards. Even if such men exist, the harsh reality of social life has turned them into cold and ruthless individuals. How could they then share their hard-earned careers with a partner? Many women, influenced by soap operas and social media, have an unrealistic view of life, with their minds totally distorted by beauty filters. They only seek the end result without wanting to put in the effort along the way, and women age much faster than men. After 30, women basically no longer have a chance to marry for the first time, as men prefer younger women. Meanwhile, men, even in their 30s or 40s, can still find satisfied partners. This happens because men's tastes never change. They always prefer 18-year-old women, and successful men have these women at their disposal. This is why there are so many single women in the cities. It's a direct consequence of their own choices, and they don't deserve pity. In light of this, we see the absence of men at the event in Hangzhou, and this situation is quite disheartening. Because, in reality, it's not that men are stopping their search for a partner. It's that women have excessive expectations. Young women who seek men with good conditions will never choose women with average conditions, creating a deadlock. They want rich and handsome men, but these men don't choose them. As a result, many men simply give up. They don't want to marry or have children. Life is hard enough without the need to carry a partner who brings more problems. Many women might be happier on their own. In summary, men who are struggling in the cities are in no rush to get married. If they've chosen city life, they should pursue what they truly want and not blindly follow their parents' advice, as parents from humble backgrounds don't understand the reality of life and their advice holds no value. Men gain value over time and, eventually, will find women who meet their requirements. Follow me to explore more videos like this, leave a like, and I'll see you in the next one.